Rain was pounding the streets when the Mafia boss froze an injured little girl lay bleeding in his territory, clutching a strange coated bracelet and whispering, "They're hunting me." He lifted her, and the moment her eyes flicked to his raven tattoo, she whispered a name no one alive should know. Now the men who tortured her are closing in, and the girl's final terrified clue threatens to expose a secret that could burn his entire empire. If you're hooked in and want to enjoy this story, go ahead and subscribe, and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see where everyone's watching. Plus, tomorrow I've got another incredible story lined up, and you definitely don't want to miss it. Alright, back to the story. Some nights even criminals know to stay inside. This wasn't one of those nights. The rain hammered West Briargate like divine punishment, each drop exploding against cracked pavement in sheets of silver. Sean Hooker moved through the downpour alone, his tailored black suit clinging to his frame, water streaming down the sharp angles of his face. The neck tattoos that normally screamed danger were muted now, darkened by rain, almost invisible in the storm. He shouldn't have been here. A routine inspection could have waited until morning. But years of ruling, the Underworld had taught him one unbreakable rule: trust no one but yourself. A sound stopped him cold. Not the scuttle of rats in the garbage, not the distant wail of sirens. Something softer, more fragile. A child's whimper. Sean turned slowly, his hand instinctively moving to the Glock concealed beneath his jacket. His eyes scanned the alley entrance, a narrow gap between the old brick warehouse and a shuttered corner market. The streetlight above flickered once, twice, then steadied. That's when he saw her. A small figure pressed against the wet brick wall, barely visible in the shadows. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old. Her dark hair hung in soaked tangles across her face, rain mixing with something darker blood that trickled from a gash above her eyebrow. Her clothes were torn, muddied, wrong. She looked up at him with wide, terrified eyes, brown eyes that had seen things no child should ever witness. Sean's jaw tightened. He'd killed men for less than looking at him wrong, but as he knelt slowly in front of this broken little girl, his tattooed hands rising in a gesture of peace, something ancient and protective stirred in his chest. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said, his voice dropping to something gentle, almost unrecognizable. "You're safe now, I promise." The girl's lips trembled. Her small hands, scraped and bruised, reached out tentatively and gripped the lapels of his jacket with surprising strength. She tried to speak, her voice barely a whisper through chattering teeth. "Help, please." Then her eyes rolled back, and she collapsed forward into his arms. Sean caught her instinctively, cradling her small frame against his chest. She weighed almost nothing. His mind raced, processing the scene with cold calculation. The way she was dressed, the injuries, defensive wounds on her arms, bruising around her wrists, the terror in her eyes. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't random. Someone had hurt this child deliberately. Sean's phone was in his hand before he'd consciously decided to reach for it. His thumb hovered over the emergency contact screen, 911 glowing in the darkness. The right call, the legal call, but every instinct screamed that this situation was wrong. No abandoned child in his territory went unnoticed. No reports had come through his network, and the way she'd whispered help carried the weight of something darker than a simple assault. His thumb moved decisively, bypassing 911 entirely. He pressed a single name. "Reeves." "Boss?" came the immediate response. "Code Black. My location. Bring the full detail. Medical, cleanup, and security. Now." Sean's voice was ice. "And Reeves? No hospitals, no police, no one talks." "Copy that. ETA 4 minutes." Sean shrugged off his jacket, the expensive fabric already ruined by rain and blood. With practiced gentleness, he wrapped it around the unconscious girl, tucking it carefully to protect her from the cold. He removed his vest and folded it beneath her head like a pillow. "You're all right, little one," he murmured, brushing wet strands of hair from her face. "Nobody's gonna hurt you anymore. I've got you." As his fingers touched her wrist to check her pulse, he felt something cold and metallic. He gently turned her arm over. A bracelet. Silver, with strange symbols etched into the metal. Not jewelry, something clinical, something coded. What the hell? In the distance, a new sound cut through the storm. The low, rumbling growl of multiple engines, heavy engines. Within seconds, the first black SUV rounded the corner, headlights cutting through the rain like searchlights. Then another, and another. 7 vehicles total, forming a protective semicircle around the alley entrance. Doors opened simultaneously. Men in dark tactical gear emerged, former military. every one of them establishing a perimeter with lethal precision. Reeves, Sean's second in command, approached quickly. The man was built like a tank, with a shaved head and a scar running from temple to jaw, but his expression softened when he saw the child in Sean's arms. "Jesus, boss. She's just a kid." "I know." Sean stood carefully, lifting the girl with him. She stirred slightly but didn't wake. "Get Dr. Martins to the compound. Tell her full trauma protocol and keep it quiet." "On it." Reeves gestured to two men. "Santos, Rodriguez, you're riding with the boss." As Sean moved toward the lead SUV, the girl's hand suddenly clutched at his shirt. Her eyes fluttered open for just a moment, unfocused, glazed with pain. "The bad men," she whispered. "They're looking." "Shh, I've got you now." Sean slid into the back seat, never letting her go. "Nobody's gonna find you, I promise." Her eyes drifted to the tattoos on his neck, the raven with spread wings. Recognition flashed across her face, followed by something unexpected. Hope. "The raven," she breathed. He had the same. Sean froze. Who had the same? But her eyes had already closed, her small body going limp against his chest. Reeves leaned in from the front seat. "Boss, we've got a problem. 3 unmarked vehicles circling 6 blocks out. Professional tail." Sean's expression hardened to stone. He looked down at the unconscious child, then back at Reeves. "Find out who they are and what they want." His voice was deadly calm. "Because whoever did this just declared war on the wrong man." The compound's medical wing smelled like antiseptic and secrecy. Dr. Helena Martins worked in silence, her gloved hands moving with practiced efficiency over the small body laid out on the examination table. Sean stood against the far wall, arms crossed, jaw clenched so tight it ached. He'd seen men tortured, shot, beaten within inches of their lives. But watching a child receive stitches was somehow worse. "Defensive wounds on both forearms," Dr. Martins said quietly, her voice clinical but strained. "Bruising around the wrists, consistent with restraints. The head wound is superficial, but she's severely dehydrated and malnourished." She paused, her eyes meeting Sean's. This wasn't a one-time incident. This child has been abused systematically over an extended period. Sean's knuckles went white. How long? Weeks. Maybe months. The room seemed to tilt. Sean had built an empire on violence. Yes, but controlled violence. Strategic violence. There were rules in his world. Lines even monsters didn't cross. And the first rule, the one carved into his soul by his own brutal childhood, was simple. Never the innocent. Never children. "She'll need rest, fluids, and monitoring for the next 72 hours, doctor," Martins continued, peeling off her gloves. "I've sedated her lightly. She should sleep through the night." "Thank you, Helena." The doctor nodded and left, closing the door softly behind her. Sean moved closer to the bed. The girl looked even smaller now, cleaned up and tucked beneath white sheets. Her dark hair had been washed, revealing a delicate face marked by exhaustion and pain. A bandage covered the gash on her forehead. An IV drip fed fluids into her tiny arm. He pulled up a chair and sat heavily, elbows on his knees. "Who are you, kid?" he murmured. "And who the hell did this to you?" As if in answer, her hand twitched. Sean noticed the bracelet still on her wrist. Dr. Martins had left it, knowing better than to remove potential evidence without permission. He gently lifted her arm, studying the silver band more closely under the examination light. The symbols weren't random. They were deliberate, coded, numbers and letters in a sequence that meant something to someone. His phone buzzed. "Reeves." "Talk to me," Sean said, keeping his voice low. "Tech team ran the symbols through everything we've got. Their encrypted coordinates and ID codes. Military-grade encryption, boss. Whatever that bracelet is, it's not jewelry. Keep digging. There's more. Those unmarked cars? We tracked 2 of them to a private security contractor called Aegis Solutions. High-end stuff, government contracts, executive protection, the works." Sean's blood ran cold. Why would a private military contractor be hunting a child? That's what we're trying to figure out. "But boss, we ran facial recognition on the girl using traffic cams from the area where you found her. And nothing. No missing person reports. No Amber Alerts. No school records in the tri-state area. It's like she doesn't exist, or someone made her disappear. Double the perimeter security," Sean ordered. "I want eyes on every entrance, every camera feed, every shadow. No one gets within 100 yards of this compound without me knowing about it." "Already done." Sean ended the call and set his phone on the side table. He rubbed his face with both hands, exhaustion creeping in at the edges. A small sound made him look up. The girl's eyes were open just barely, unfocused but aware. She stared at him with the wariness of a wounded animal. "Hey there," Sean said softly, keeping his hands visible and still. "You're safe. You're in a medical facility. My name is Sean." Her lips moved. No sound came out at first, just a dry rasp. Sean reached for the water cup Dr. Martens had left and carefully brought the straw to her lips. Small sips, that's it. She drank greedily, then coughed, her small frame shaking with the effort. "Easy. Sweetheart, you're okay." The girl's eyes locked onto his neck specifically, the raven tattoo that sprawled across his throat and collarbone. Her breathing quickened. Fear flooded her expression. No, hey." Sean raised his hands, trying to appear less threatening. "I'm not going to hurt you, I promise." But she wasn't looking at him with fear anymore. She was looking at the tattoo with recognition. Her hand lifted weakly, one trembling finger pointing at the ink. He had that too. Her voice was barely a whisper, cracked and broken. "The man who took me." Every muscle in Sean's body went rigid. "What man? Tell me what he looked like." But the girl's eyes were already drifting closed again, the sedatives pulling her back under. Her hand fell limply to the bed. "The Raven Man," she breathed. "Bad, so bad." Then she was out, her breathing evening into the rhythm of deep sleep. Sean sat frozen, his mind racing through impossible connections. The raven wasn't a common tattoo. It was his symbol, the mark of the hooker syndicate, earned only by those who'd proven their loyalty in blood. There were maybe 30 men alive who wore that ink, and one dead man who'd worn it too. His brother. Sean's phone was in his hand again, his thumb flying across the screen as he pulled up a years-old file he'd buried deep in encrypted storage. A file he'd hoped never to open again. Daniel, hooker, deceased. Date of death, the 17th of August 2020. Cause, unconfirmed. Body never recovered. The official story was a rival gang ambush near the docks. The unofficial story, the one Sean had never quite believed, was that Daniel had betrayed the family and been executed for it. But what if Daniel wasn't dead? What if he'd disappeared for a reason? Sean looked down at the sleeping child, then at the coded bracelet on her wrist. "Who are you running from, little one?" he whispered. "And what does my brother have to do with this?" Outside the medical wing, Reeves appeared in the doorway, his expression grim. "Boss, we've got movement. 6 vehicles just entered the district. They're doing a grid search pattern." Sean stood slowly, his decision already made. Lockdown protocol. Nobody in, nobody out. "And Reeves?" His voice dropped to something dangerous. "Find me everything on Aegis Solutions. Client lists, contracts, financials, everything. Someone sent those men after this girl." He glanced back at the child one last time. "And I'm gonna find out why." Morning light filtered through reinforced windows, casting sterile shadows across the medical wing. Sean hadn't slept. He'd spent the night in that chair, watching the rise and fall of the girl's chest, his mind churning through impossible scenarios. Around dawn, she'd started to stir. Now her eyes were open, truly open, and fixed on him with an intensity that seemed far too old for someone so young. "You stayed," she whispered. "I did." "Why?" The question hit harder than it should have. Sean leaned forward, elbows on his knees, choosing his words carefully. "Because I told you I'd keep you safe, and I keep my promises." She studied him for a long moment, then slowly pushed herself up to sitting. Dr. Martens had warned against movement, but Sean didn't stop her. The kid needed to feel some control. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Another pause. Then, quietly, "Olivia. Olivia Ennis. Olivia." Sean tested the name, letting it settle. "That's a beautiful name. Do you know how you ended up in that alley, Olivia?" Her small hands gripped the sheets. I ran. There was a van. It stopped at a light, and the door wasn't locked, so I ran. But I got lost, and then everything got blurry, and then I found you." She nodded, her eyes dropping to the bracelet on her wrist. She touched it absently, as if she'd forgotten it was there. "Can I look at that?" Sean asked gently. Olivia hesitated, then extended her arm. Sean took her hand carefully, mindful of the IV line, and examined the bracelet more closely in the daylight. The symbols were even more intricate than he'd realized, a mix of alphanumeric codes and geometric patterns. "Do you know what this means?" he asked. "No. They put it on me when I first got there." "Where's there, Olivia?" Her face went pale. "I don't want to talk about there." "Okay, that's okay." Sean released her hand. "You don't have to tell me anything you're not ready to tell me." A knock at the door interrupted them. Reeves entered, carrying a tablet and looking like he hadn't slept either. "Boss." Tech team cracked part of the encryption. Sean stood, moving to the far corner of the room where Olivia couldn't hear. "Show me." Reeves pulled up a map on the tablet. Red dots marked locations across the city, warehouses, private airfields, even a few residential addresses. These are the coordinates embedded in the bracelet. But there's more. He swiped to another screen. There are also dates, shipment schedules, and these, he pointed to a series of numbers. These are inventory codes. Sean's blood turned to ice. Inventory? For what? Reeves's jaw tightened. Not what, boss. Who? We cross-referenced the codes, with missing children reports from the past 18 months. 3 matches so far, all girls between ages 6 and 10, all reported found safe and returned to families. But when we dug deeper, 2 of those families don't exist. Fake addresses, fake social security numbers. The 3rd family moved out of state 3 days after the girl was returned and vanished completely. The implications hit like a freight train. Sean's fists clenched at his sides. Someone's trafficking children, using fake rescue operations to cover their tracks. That's what it looks like. A small voice cut through their conversation. Is that what happened to the others? Both men turned. Olivia had slipped out of bed and stood unsteadily near the door. One hand braced against the wall for support. "Olivia, you should be resting," Sean started. "There were other kids." She interrupted, her voice gaining strength despite her trembling. "In the warehouse, before the van. I heard them crying at night. Different voices every few days." Sean crossed to her in 3 strides, kneeling so they were eye level. "How many others?" "I don't know. Maybe 10, 20. Tears welled in her eyes. "They kept us in different rooms. We weren't supposed to talk to each other, but sometimes we could hear through the walls." "Do you remember anything else? Anything about where this warehouse was?" Olivia's breathing quickened, panic rising. I don't remember." "Hey, it's okay." Sean placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to remember right now." But something had shifted in Olivia's expression. Her eyes went distant, focused on something only she could see. "Wait, I drew pictures. In my room, on the walls. They got mad, but I kept drawing because I was scared I'd forget." Reeves stepped forward. "What kind of pictures?" "Faces. The people who came. And symbols. From the boxes they carried. And numbers from the trucks outside." Sean and Reeves exchanged a look. "Olivia," Sean said carefully, "do you think you could draw those pictures again? For us?" She nodded slowly. "I think so. Some of them. My memory gets fuzzy sometimes, but when I draw it comes back clearer." Within minutes, Dr. Martins had been summoned to approve the activity, and Reeves returned with sketch paper and colored pencils. They set Olivia up at a small table, ensuring she was comfortable and had water nearby. What happened next left both men speechless. Olivia's hand moved across the paper with startling precision. She wasn't drawing like a child, she was drawing like a witness. Her first sketch showed a man's face in remarkable detail. Sharp features, a thin scar across his left eyebrow, cold eyes. "He came every week," she said quietly, already starting a second drawing. "He always wore a suit, and he had a ring, gold, with a black stone." The second drawing showed the ring. The third showed a logo, a stylized eagle with wings spread, clutching a globe. Sean's chest tightened. He'd seen that logo before. "Reeves, run that symbol." "Already on it, boss." Reeves was typing furiously on his phone. Within seconds he had a match. His face went pale. "The Ennis Foundation. It's a children's charity. High-profile donors. Celebrity endorsements. Government grants. They run orphanages and foster programs in 12 states. Ennis," Sean repeated slowly, turning to Olivia. "That's your last name." Olivia's pencil froze mid-stroke. "My parents. They said I was named after the foundation. Because it saved me when I was a baby." The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture so horrific that Sean's hands shook. A children's charity, with access to vulnerable kids, with infrastructure to move them, with legitimacy to hide behind. "Boss," Reeves said urgently, "we've gotta..." The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a second later, bathing the room in red. Then came the sound every man in the compound had trained to recognize, the distinctive crack of a breaching charge. Someone was breaking in. Sean grabbed Olivia, lifting her into his arms. "Reeves, get her to the panic room. Now." "What about you?" "I'm going to introduce our guests to some hospitality." Gunfire erupted somewhere in the compound, sharp, controlled bursts that meant professionals. Olivia clung to Sean's neck, her small body trembling. "They found me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This isn't your fault." Sean's voice was steel. "And I meant what I said. Nobody's taking you. Not now. Not ever." He handed her to Reeves, who immediately started toward the reinforced safe room at the compound center. Sean drew his Glock, checked the magazine, and turned toward the sound of approaching footsteps. Time to remind the world why people feared the Hooker Syndicate. The gunfire stopped as abruptly as it started. That was worse. Sean moved through the dimmed corridors like a predator, his weapon raised, every sense heightened. Behind him, 3 of his best men formed a protective wedge. The compound's architecture favored defenders' narrow choke points, reinforced doors, security cameras covering every angle. Except someone had killed the main power, someone who knew the layout. His radio crackled. "Boss, this is Santos. West perimeter secure. No breaches on our end. Copy. Hold position." Another voice. "Rodriguez here. East side clear." Whatever came in, it came through the north entrance. The north entrance, the main gate, the one with biometric locks that only 12 people could access. Sean's jaw clenched. Inside job. He reached the security room and found 2 of his men hunched over backup monitors running on generator power. The lead tech, a former NSA contractor named Torres, looked up with grim eyes. "Show me," Sean ordered. Torres pulled up the footage from 15 minutes earlier. The screen showed the north gate opening smoothly, no forced entry, no explosives. Just a clean unlock from the inside. 6 figures in tactical gear poured through, moving with military precision. They knew exactly where to go, Torres muttered. Straight toward the medical wing. Avoided every patrol route. Run it back. Show me who opened the gate. Torres's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up the biometric log. A name appeared on screen. Vincent Kane. Access granted 5:47 a.m. The room went silent. Vincent Kane. 10 years with the syndicate. One of Sean's 3 senior lieutenants. A man who'd stood beside him through gang wars, federal investigations, and hostile takeovers. Sean felt something cold and ancient settle in his chest, not rage. Not yet. Just the terrible clarity that came with betrayal. Where is he now? Unknown, boss. He's not responding to radio calls. Find him. And when you do, Sean's voice dropped to something lethal. Bring him to me alive. The radio crackled again. Reeves, breathless. Boss, we're secure in the panic room. The girl's safe. But we've got a situation. The attackers pulled back before reaching us. They're not extracting, they're regrouping. They're waiting for something, Sean said, his mind racing. Or someone. He moved to the monitor showing the panic room's feed. Olivia sat huddled in the corner, her arms wrapped around her knees. Even through the grainy camera, he could see her shaking. She's terrified, and she thinks this is her fault. Sean grabbed his radio. Reeves, put me on speaker. A pause, then. You're on, boss. Olivia, can you hear me? The girl's head snapped up, her eyes finding the camera in the corner of the panic room. I can hear you, she said, her voice small and broken. Listen to me very carefully. What's happening right now, these people breaking in, the guns, all of it. This is not because of you. You understand? You didn't bring trouble here. These are bad men doing bad things, and that's on them, not you. A sob escaped her. But they came for me. They want to take me back. And that's never going to happen. You know why? Sean's voice softened despite the chaos around him. Because I'm the man standing in their way, and I don't lose. Olivia wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Promise? I promise. Movement on another monitor caught Torres's attention. Boss, we've got company. Main corridor. 3 hostiles advancing on your position. Sean switched the radio back to command channel. All units. Maintain defensive positions. Nobody fires unless fired upon. I want at least one of these bastards alive for questioning. He turned to the 2 men with him. Jackson, Murphy with me. Torres, you stay here and coordinate. If anything happens to that panic room, nothing's going to happen, boss. That door could survive a direct missile hit. Sean moved back into the corridor, his men flanking him. The tactical team was advancing carefully, checking corners, maintaining formation. Professional, disciplined, expensive. Sean raised his voice, letting it echo through the hallway. This is Sean Hooker. You're in my house. Uninvited. You have 10 seconds to identify yourselves and state your business. The response came from a voice modulator, cold, mechanical, gender neutral. We're here for the Ennis girl. Hand her over, and we leave. No one else needs to die. Counter proposal, Sean said calmly. You leave now, and I don't hunt down everyone you've ever loved. Silence. Then laughter, genuine amusement filtered through the modulator. You're protecting one child against an organization with infinite resources. This is a war you can't win. Hooker. Then you don't know me very well. The lights suddenly blazed back to full power. Torres had rerouted to the backup generators. The sudden illumination revealed the three tactical figures clearly, and gave Sean's hidden men the advantage they needed. Gunfire erupted from concealed positions, not to kill, but to suppress. The tactical team scattered, returning fire as they retreated toward the north entrance. One went down with a leg shot, screaming. Cease fire, Sean ordered. Let them run. But hold that one. His men closed in on the wounded attacker, disarming him efficiently. The man's helmet came off, revealing a face Sean didn't recognize, mid-30s, military bearing, the blank eyes of someone who followed orders without question. Sean knelt beside him. Who sent you? The man spat blood. Go to hell. Eventually. But you first. Sean pressed his gun against the man's good leg. I can make this quick, or I can make this educational. Your choice. You're going to kill me anyway. Probably. But how much you suffer before that happens is entirely up to you. The man's resolve cracked slightly. They didn't tell us who we were extracting, just that she was high-value merchandise. The contract came through Aegis Solutions, but the money... He coughed, blood flecking his lips. The money came from somewhere else. Offshore accounts. Government-level encryption. Who's running the Ennis Foundation? I don't know. I'm just a contractor. But the girl, they want her bad. Whatever she saw, whatever she knows, it's worth millions to keep quiet. Footsteps echoed from the north corridor. Sean looked up to see Reeves approaching, dragging someone by the collar. Vincent Kane. The lieutenant looked disheveled, terrified, and caught. His eyes met Sean's and immediately dropped to the floor. Found him trying to slip out through the garage, Reeves said, his voice thick with disgust. Had a duffel bag full of cash. 200,000, unmarked bills. Sean stood slowly, holstering his weapon. He walked toward Vincent with measured steps, each footfall echoing like a judge's gavel. Vince, look at me. The man's head lifted reluctantly. Tears streaked his face. How long? Sean asked quietly. 3 months. They approached me 3 months ago. I swear. Boss, I didn't know about the girl. I didn't know what they were. You sold us out for money. I needed it. Medical bills for my daughter, the treatments. So you sold a child instead? Sean's voice remained eerily calm. You opened our doors to men who would take a terrified 8-year-old back to the people who tortured her? Vincent collapsed to his knees. I'm sorry. God, Sean, I'm so sorry. Sean looked at Reeves. Lock him in the holding cell. Strip search, full restraints. He doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, doesn't breathe without my permission. We'll deal with him after this is over. And if it's not over? Reeves asked. Then he'll have a long time to think about his choices. As Vincent was dragged away, Sean's phone buzzed. Torres. Boss, you need to see this. The girl Olivia, she's been drawing again. And what she's drawn. Jesus Christ, boss. You need to see this now. Sean ran. The panic room felt smaller than it should have, the reinforced walls seeming to press inward as Sean stared at the drawings spread across the table. Olivia sat in the corner, knees pulled to her chest, watching him with anxious eyes. Reeves stood at Sean's shoulder, equally transfixed by what the child had created. It wasn't the quality of the artwork that stunned them, though. Olivia's memory for detail was unnervingly precise. It was what she'd drawn. Faces, dozens of them, men in suits, women in business attire, security personnel, each labeled with fragments of overheard names or distinctive features. One drawing showed a warehouse interior with cages. Sean's hands trembled as he held it, but it was the final sketch that made his blood run cold. A man's hand, tattooed knuckles spelling out Hooker across the fingers, and on the ring finger, a distinctive gold band with an engraved Celtic knot, a family heirloom passed down through 3 generations. His father's ring, the ring Sean had buried with his brother 5 years ago. Olivia, Sean said, his voice barely above a whisper. Where did you see this? She hugged her knees tighter. The man who brought food sometimes. He never talked to us, but he had tattoos on his hands. And the ring, it caught the light, and I remembered it because it was pretty. Everything else there was ugly, but that ring was pretty. Sean's chest felt like it was caving in. He walked to the far corner of the room, pressing his palms against the cool concrete wall, forcing himself to breathe. Daniel, His brother. His blood. The man he'd mourned for half a decade. Alive. And involved in something so monstrous that Sean's mind recoiled from fully accepting it. "Boss?" Reeves approached cautiously. "You okay?" "No." The word came out raw. "But I will be." Sean turned back to the table, his hands steady now despite the storm raging inside him. He picked up another drawing, a building exterior with a distinctive loading bay and a partial license plate visible on a parked truck. "Torres," he said into his radio. "I'm sending you photos of some drawings. I need every resource we have identifying these locations and faces. Start with the building industrial, probably on the outskirts of the city. Cross-reference with properties owned or leased by the Ennis Foundation." "Copy that, boss. Sending now." Sean carefully photographed each drawing, his eyes lingering on the sketch of the tattooed hand. When he finished, he moved to where Olivia sat and lowered himself to the floor beside her, not too close, giving her space. "You did really good, sweetheart," he said gently. "These drawings are going to help us stop the bad people." "Even the man with the ring?" Sean's throat tightened. "Even him? Was he someone you knew?" "Smart kid. Too smart." She'd seen the recognition in his face. "Yeah," Sean admitted. "A long time ago. Someone I thought was dead. But he's not dead. He's one of the bad men. Maybe. I don't know yet." He rubbed his face with both hands. "But I'm going to find out." Olivia was quiet for a moment. Then, tentatively, she leaned against his shoulder, just slightly, testing whether he'd pull away. Sean went completely still, barely breathing. Then, slowly, he wrapped one arm around her small frame, holding her the way he imagined fathers were supposed to hold their daughters when the world got too scary. "You're not going to send me away, are you?" she whispered. "No." "What if the bad people come back? Then I'll stop them again. What if they're too strong? Then I'll get stronger." Sean tightened his hold fractionally. "Olivia, I need you to understand something. I've spent my whole life being the scariest person in any room. I've built an empire on making people afraid. And right now, all of that, every bit of power, every connection, every weapon I have, all of it exists to keep you safe. You're not alone anymore. Not ever again." She tilted her head up to look at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Why? You don't even know me. Because you're a kid, and kids deserve to be protected, not hurt. That's reason enough." A knock on the panic room door made them both tense. Reeves moved to the reinforced panel, checking the monitor. "It's Torres." The door unlocked with a series of mechanical clicks. Torres entered, tablet in hand, his expression grim. "Boss, we got hits on 3 of the locations, all properties connected to shell corporations, but when we dug deeper..." He pulled up a map on his tablet. "They all trace back to a single offshore holding company. And that company? Its board of directors includes 2 senators, a federal judge, and the CEO of the Ennis Foundation." Sean stood, his mind shifting into tactical mode. Names: Senator Patricia Whitmore, Senator James Caldwell, Judge Harold Brennan, and Torres paused. "Richard Ennis, the Foundation's founder, the man who supposedly saved Olivia as a baby," Reeves added darkly. Olivia made a small sound. "Mr. Ennis came once, to look at us. He said we should be grateful, that we were going to help important people." Bile rose in Sean's throat. "Help them how?" "I don't know. We never understood what they meant." Torres swiped to another screen. "There's more, boss. We pulled financial records. The Ennis Foundation has moved over $200 million through various accounts in the past 3 years, most of it legitimate donations. But there are gaps. Huge amounts that can't be accounted for. Payment for children?" Sean said flatly. "They're not just trafficking them. They're selling them to wealthy buyers who can afford to make people disappear." The room went silent. "Boss," Torres continued carefully, "there's something else. We ran that tattoo through our database. The knuckle tattoos spelling hooker. Only 4 people ever got that ink. You, your father, your uncle, and my brother," Sean finished. "Yeah. But there's been activity. Credit card purchases, security footage. Someone using his biometric signature accessed a storage facility downtown 3 weeks ago." "Show me the footage." Torres pulled up a grainy security video. A figure in a baseball cap and dark jacket approached a storage unit, pressed his hand to a scanner, and entered. When the man glanced up at the camera just for a second, Sean's world tilted. It was Daniel. Older, harder, but unmistakably his brother. "He's alive," Sean breathed. "That son of a bitch is alive." Olivia tugged on his sleeve. The Raven Man? The one who hurt the kids? Sean looked down at her, then at the drawing of the tattooed hand. Yeah, sweetheart. The Raven Man. His radio crackled. One of the perimeter guards, voice tight with urgency. Boss, we've got multiple vehicles approaching. 6 SUVs, high speed, military formation. ETA 2 minutes. Sean's hand went to his weapon. How many men? Looks like at least 30. Boss, they're not trying to hide. This isn't a stealth operation. This is a declaration of war, Sean said coldly. He knelt in front of Olivia, gripping her shoulders gently but firmly. I need you to stay here with Reeves. No matter what you hear, no matter what happens, you stay in this room. Do you understand? She nodded, terrified. Say it. I stay in this room. Good girl. He kissed her forehead, impulsive, protective, and stood. Reeves, if anything happens to me, you get her out. Use the tunnels. Take her to the safe house in Queens. Call in every favor we have. Boss. That's an order. Sean moved toward the door, his jaw set like granite. They wanted a war? Then the hooker syndicate would give them one they'd never forget. The SUVs rolled up like an occupying force, their headlights cutting through the early morning fog that clung to the compound's perimeter. Sean watched from the command center's monitors as 30-plus men in tactical gear deployed with military precision, too precise, too coordinated. They're not mercenaries, Torres muttered, zooming in on one of the operatives. Look at the formation, the hand signals. That's federal training. Sean's jaw tightened. But no badges, no identification. A voice boomed through an external loudspeaker, amplified and authoritative. This is Agent David Morrison with Child Protective Services, Federal Division. We have a warrant for the recovery of Olivia Ennis, age 8, believed to be held unlawfully on these premises. You have 5 minutes to produce the child and surrender peacefully. Federal Division? Reeves's voice crackled over the radio from the panic room. Boss, CPS doesn't have a federal division. I know. Sean's eyes narrowed as he studied the men on screen. Their gear was too advanced, their weapons too high grade. Real social workers didn't carry automatic rifles. They're using bureaucracy as cover, making it look legitimate for any cameras or witnesses. Torres pulled up another screen. Boss, we're getting hits on social media. Neighbors are filming. There's already a news chopper requesting airspace clearance. This is about to go very public. That's the point, Sean realized. They can't just storm in and take her not after the first attempt failed. So they're painting me as the villain. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You're a child kidnapper now. Let her go, or we destroy you in the press. You have nowhere to run. Sean's thumb hovered over the screen. Then he forwarded the message to Torres. Trace that. On it. The loudspeaker boomed again. 4 minutes, Mr. Hooker. We don't want bloodshed, but we will recover that child. She belongs in protective custody, not with a known criminal. On another monitor, news footage was already streaming aerial shots of the compound. Chyrons reading, breaking. Mafia boss holds child hostage and federal agents surround syndicate headquarters. The narrative was being written in real time, and Sean was losing. Boss, what's the play? Torres asked. Sean closed his eyes for a fraction of a second, his mind racing through scenarios. If he surrendered Olivia, she'd disappear into a system controlled by the very people who'd trafficked her. If he fought, he'd be gunned down on live television and painted as a monster. There's always a third option. Get me a direct line to that agent outside, Sean ordered, and prep the media package, everything we have on the Ennis Foundation, the trafficking network, Olivia's testimony. If this goes sideways, I want the truth out there. Torres handed him a radio tuned to the frequency the tactical team was using. Sean pressed the transmit button. Agent Morrison. This is Sean Hooker. Before we proceed, I have a few questions about your warrant. A pause. Then the modulated voice returned, now coming through the radio. This isn't a negotiation. Humor me. What judge signed your warrant? That's classified. Interesting, because federal warrants aren't classified. They're public record. So let me guess, Judge Harold Brennan? The same judge who sits on the board of the Ennis Foundation? The silence that followed was telling. You're stalling, Morrison finally said. I'm protecting a child from the people who trafficked her. Big difference. Sean's voice hardened. Olivia Ennis escaped from a criminal organization that's been abducting and selling children for years. And you're not here to rescue her, you're here to silence her. That's a serious accusation. Then let's test it. I'll bring Olivia out right now, in front of all these cameras, in front of the news choppers, and she can tell her story. Live. unedited. If she says she wants to go with you, I won't stop her. But if she says she's terrified of you, well, that's going to be hard to explain, isn't it? Another pause. Longer this time. You have 3 minutes. The radio went dead. Torres looked at Sean. Boss, you can't seriously be considering. Get Reeves on the line. Seconds later, Reeves's voice came through. Boss, bring Olivia to the main entrance. Stay behind cover, but get her where she can see outside. Are you insane? They'll trust me. And Reeves? Have your phone ready to broadcast. If this goes bad, I want every second recorded. Sean moved through the compound, his men falling into formation around him. The main entrance was reinforced steel, but he could see through the bulletproof windows to where the tactical team had formed a semicircle. Weapons raised, but not aimed yet. Behind him, Reeves emerged from the secure corridor with Olivia. The girl looked terrified, her small hand clutching Reeves's much larger one. When she saw the armed men outside through the window, she went rigid. Olivia, Sean said gently, kneeling beside her. I need you to be very brave right now. Those men out there say they're here to help you, to take you somewhere safe. Her eyes went wide with panic. No, please. I'm not going to let them take you. But I need you to tell them that. Can you do that? She nodded shakily. Sean stood and addressed his men. Open the door. But nobody fires unless I give the order. The massive door slid open with a hydraulic hiss. Sean stepped into the doorway, Olivia partially hidden behind him. Immediately, red laser sights dotted his chest and face, at least a dozen rifles trained on him. I'm unarmed, Sean called out, raising his hands. The girl is here, but before anyone moves, she has something to say. He felt Olivia's small hand grip the back of his jacket. Sweetheart, he said softly. Tell them what you told me. About the warehouse. About the bad men. Olivia's voice was tiny but clear in the sudden silence. I don't want to go with you. You're the same people who took me before. You're the ones who hurt us. Agent Morrison stepped forward, his face obscured by a tactical helmet. Olivia, we're here to help you. This man is a criminal. He's confused you. No. Olivia's voice grew stronger. Sean found me in the rain. He gave me his jacket. He protected me. You're the ones who put the bracelet on me. You're the ones who locked us in cages. The tactical team shifted uncomfortably. In the distance, news cameras were recording every word. Morrison's voice lost its professional veneer. Shut that door, now. Or what? Sean challenged. You'll shoot a child on live television? That'll look great for your cover story. You're making a mistake, Hooker. No. You made the mistake. You came to my house. You threatened a little girl. And now the whole world is watching. Morrison raised his hand, signaling his team. Sean tensed, his body angled to shield Olivia. Then chaos. The tactical team didn't fire. Instead, they rushed forward as one, not shooting, but advancing in a blitz formation designed to overwhelm and extract. Sean shoved Olivia backward into Reeves's arms. Go! Reeves turned and ran, carrying the screaming child deeper into the compound. Sean threw himself into the doorway, blocking the entrance. The first operative to reach him took an elbow to the throat and went down choking. The second got a knee to the chest that cracked ribs, but there were too many. Hands grabbed him, wrenching his arms back. A baton cracked against his ribs. He tasted blood. Sean! Olivia's scream echoed from somewhere inside. Then his men opened fire not at the operatives, but at the ground in front of them. Warning shots that sent the tactical team scrambling for cover. In the confusion, strong hands pulled Sean backward into the compound. The door slammed shut, locking with a definitive clunk. Sean collapsed against the wall, breathing hard, his ribs screaming in pain. Torres was at his side immediately. Boss, we need to move. They're going to breach. No, Sean gasped. They won't. Not with cameras watching. That would expose them. But even as he said it, he heard the distinctive sound of a battering ram slamming against the door. They were coming anyway. And this time, they weren't pretending to be rescuers. The battering ram hit 3 more times before Sean made the call that would change everything. Evacuate, he ordered into the radio, his voice cold and final. Use the tunnels. Get everyone out, non-combatants first. Reeves, you take Olivia through the southeast passage. It comes out 4 blocks away in the old subway station. What about you, boss? I'm ending this. Tonight. Sean pulled himself upright, ignoring the fire in his ribs. He moved through the compound as his men executed the evacuation protocol with practiced efficiency. Within minutes, The building that had been his fortress was emptying like water through a sieve. Torres caught up to him in the command center. "Boss, we cracked the final location. The main warehouse, the one from Olivia's drawings. It's in Red Hook, near the shipyards, registered to a subsidiary of the Ennis Foundation under the name Hope Harbor Storage." How poetic. Sean grabbed his tactical vest from a locker. "How many men can we mobilize in 30 minutes? Maybe 20. But boss, if we hit that location, we're not hitting it. I'm hitting it. Everyone else is on protection detail for Olivia. That's suicide." "No, that's strategy." Sean checked his weapons methodically. Glock, backup piece, combat knife. "They want me to stay here and defend. To be the monster holding a child hostage. But if I'm somewhere else, if I'm the one exposing their operation while they're busy playing rescuers, the narrative shifts." Torres's eyes widened with understanding. "You're going to force them to choose. Chase you or chase the girl. And since I'm about to burn their entire operation to the ground, they'll have no choice but to come after me." Sean grabbed the tablet with the warehouse's location. "Get the media package ready. When I give the signal, you release everything, every file, every photo Olivia drew, every piece of evidence we have. Flood every news outlet, social media platform, and law enforcement agency that isn't compromised. And if you don't make it out, then you release it anyway. And you make sure Olivia gets somewhere safe, somewhere far from New York." Before Torres could protest, Sean was moving again, this time toward the tunnel system. He found Reeves in the underground passage with Olivia and 6 heavily armed men. The girl's eyes were red from crying. When she saw Sean, she broke away from Reeves and ran to him, wrapping her small arms around his waist. "You're leaving," she said. "Not a question, but an accusation. You're going to fight them alone." Sean knelt, bringing himself to her eye level. "Olivia, listen to me. Those men outside, they're just soldiers following orders. The people who really hurt you, the ones running everything there somewhere else. And I'm going to stop them, but they'll kill you. Maybe." He wouldn't lie to her. "But if I don't do this, they'll never stop hunting you. This ends tonight, one way or another." Tears streamed down her face. "I don't want you to die." Something cracked in Sean's chest, a wall he'd built decades ago, crumbling under the weight of this child's fear. He pulled her into a tight hug, feeling her small frame shake with sobs. "I'm not planning on it, sweetheart. I'm too stubborn to die." He pulled back, wiping her tears with his thumb. "But if something happens if I don't come back, I need you to know something. You changed my life. In one night, you reminded me what I'm supposed to be fighting for. Not territory, not power. People. Kids like you who deserve better than what this world tried to give you. Sean, and I need you to promise me something. No matter what happens, you keep living. You grow up strong and brave. You don't let what they did to you define who you become. Can you promise me that?" Olivia nodded, unable to speak. Sean stood, his hand lingering on her head for a moment. Then he looked at Reeves. "Guard her with your life. Always, boss." Sean turned and walked deeper into the tunnels, toward the exit that would take him to Red Hook. Behind him, he heard Olivia's voice, small but fierce. "Come back. Please come back." He didn't turn around, couldn't. If he looked at her again, he might not have the strength to leave. The warehouse loomed against the night sky like a monument to suffering. Sean approached from the waterside, using shipping containers as cover. The building was massive, 3 stories of corrugated steel and broken windows, surrounded by a chain-link fence with razor wire. Security cameras dotted the perimeter, but Sean had cut the power to this block 5 minutes earlier. He moved like smoke, silent and inevitable. The side entrance was locked, but a shaped charge took care of that. The explosion was muffled, contained just enough to blow the hinges. Sean slipped inside, weapon raised. The smell hit him first. Disinfectant trying to mask something worse. Fear, desperation, human misery absorbed into concrete walls. He cleared the first floor, methodically. Empty offices, abandoned equipment, signs of recent activity but no people. The second floor was storage, crates marked with the Ennis Foundation logo. Then he heard it. From below, children crying. Sean found the stairwell leading down, a basement level not shown on any public blueprints. His heart hammered as he descended, every instinct screaming that he was walking into a trap. But the crying continued, and he couldn't stop. The basement opened into a nightmare. Rows of makeshift cells, each barely 6 feet square, and in them children, dozens of them, ranging from toddlers to preteens, all in various states of distress. Some cried, some sat in vacant silence, some pressed against the bars reaching toward him. "Oh God," Sean breathed. A little boy, maybe 5, whispered, "Are you here to take us home?" Sean's throat closed. "Yeah, kid, I'm taking all of you home." He moved to the first cell, examining the lock. Electronic, requiring a keycard. He raised his weapon to shoot it open. "I wouldn't do that." The voice froze him solid. Not because it was threatening, because it was familiar. Sean turned slowly. A man emerged from the shadows at the far end of the basement, backlit by fluorescent lights. He was older than Sean remembered, harder, with new scars and dead eyes. But the tattoos were the same, the knuckles spelling Hooker, the raven on his neck, and on his finger, their father's ring. "Hello, little brother," Daniel said. "Been a while." Sean's weapon stayed raised, trained on his brother's chest. "You're supposed to be dead." "Yeah, well, death seemed like a good career move at the time." Daniel moved closer, his hands visible and empty. "You've caused quite a commotion tonight. The bosses are very unhappy." "The bosses? You mean the people running this operation? The ones selling children?" "Facilitating adoptions for high net worth individuals," Daniel corrected smoothly. "There's a difference. You son of a..." Sean's finger tightened on the trigger. "Shoot me, and those cells stay locked. The release is biometric, my handprint. Specifically, kill me, and these kids rot down here until someone else finds them. If anyone finds them." Sean's mind raced. "Why? Why would you do this? Money, power, purpose." Daniel shrugged. "Take your pick. Our family legacy was always going to be crime, Sean. I just found a more profitable market than drugs and protection rackets. These are children. These are commodities. Orphans, runaways, kids nobody wants or misses. We're actually giving them value. Some of them end up in good homes, with families who save the justification. I've seen Olivia's bruises. I've seen what you people did to her." Daniel's expression hardened. "Ah, yes. The girl who got away. That was unfortunate. Cost us a significant client." He tilted his head. "You've gotten attached. That's not like you, Sean. Since when do you care about strays?" "Since always. You just never noticed because you were too busy being a sociopath." Alarms suddenly blared throughout the building. Red emergency lights bathed everything in blood-colored illumination. Daniel smiled. "My backup. You're surrounded, little brother." Again, footsteps thundered above them, multiple teams converging. Sean kept his weapon trained on Daniel even as he calculated impossible odds. 30 seconds until they reached the basement. No way out except through them, and he couldn't leave these children. "Last chance, Daniel. Open the cells." "Or what? Or I shoot you, blast these locks open, and die making sure every kid here gets out." Noble. Stupid, but noble. The footsteps were closer now. 20 seconds. Daniel sighed and pressed his palm to a scanner on the wall. The cells clicked open simultaneously. "There. Happy? Now what's your play, hero?" Sean grabbed his radio. "Torres. Now." Above them, the building shook with a massive explosion-shaped charges Torres had planted while Sean created the distraction. The entire north wall collapsed, revealing the night sky and a fleet of waiting vehicles. Not Sean's vehicles. Police. Real ones. Federal agents. News crews. Daniel's face went pale. "What did you..." "I called everyone. Released everything. 20 minutes ago. Every law enforcement agency in New York received a full evidence package, including testimony from Olivia and surveillance footage of this location." Sean smiled coldly. "You're not walking out of here, brother. None of you are." The tactical team burst into the basement, but this time, their guns were trained on Daniel. "Daniel Hooker, you're under arrest for human trafficking, kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit." Daniel moved. Fast. Desperate. He lunged for a hidden weapon, his hand reaching. Sean fired. The shot echoed like judgment. Daniel fell, clutching his shoulder, the gun skittering away. "That's for Olivia," Sean said quietly. "And all the others." Then federal agents swarmed them both, and the world became chaos. But through it all, Sean heard the children being led out to safety, crying and calling for their mothers. And for the first time in his life, he felt clean. The Ennis Foundation headquarters burned beautifully. Sean watched from across the street, hands cuffed behind his back, as flames consumed 3 decades of carefully constructed lies. Federal agents swarmed the building, extracting servers and documents even as smoke billowed from upper windows. It wasn't literal fire, though. Part of him wished it were. This was a different kind of burning. The cleansing fire of exposure, of truth finally allowed to breathe. "You know you're under arrest, right?" Agent Patricia Coleman stood beside him, her expression unreadable. She was FBI, real FBI, and she'd been investigating the Ennis Foundation for 2 years, with no breakthrough, until Sean's evidence package landed in her inbox. "Am I?" Sean asked mildly. "Technically. You stormed a private facility, discharged a weapon, destroyed property, rescued 23 children from cages." Coleman's jaw tightened. "That too." They watched in silence as a parade of suits were led out in handcuffs, Foundation board members, security personnel, administrative staff. Senator Whitmore tried to cover her face from cameras. Judge Brennan shouted about violations of due process. Richard Ennis, the Foundation's silver-haired patriarch, maintained dignity even in restraints. He looked directly at the news cameras and said, "This is a misunderstanding. The Hooker Syndicate has fabricated evidence to—" "Mr. Ennis," a reporter shoved a microphone forward. "How do you explain the 23 children found in cages in your warehouse? We operate foster facilities. Sometimes troubled children require— Is that why they had identification bracelets with inventory codes?" Ennis's face crumbled. His lawyer pulled him away from the cameras, but the damage was done. Coleman's radio crackled. "Agent Coleman, you're going to want to see this. We found another server room, hidden behind a false wall. What's on it? Client lists, payment records, transaction histories going back 15 years. A pause. "Ma'am, there are names here. Very prominent names." Coleman closed her eyes briefly. "Secure it. Nobody touches that data without my direct authorization." She turned to Sean. "You knew there'd be more, didn't you? That's why you made sure the media was here before the raid. So we couldn't bury it. I learned a long time ago that sunlight is the best disinfectant." Sean met her gaze steadily. "So what happens now? You charge me, put me in prison while the people who bought children walk free because they're too connected to touch? That's not—" "It is. And we both know it." Sean's voice hardened. "Those names on that server? They're going to include people who can make your investigation disappear. People who'll spin this as a rogue operation. A few bad actors. An unfortunate tragedy that's been dealt with. They'll sacrifice Ennis and a few board members, then go right back to business." Coleman's silence confirmed his suspicion. "Unless," Sean continued quietly, "someone keeps the pressure on. Someone the media is already watching. Someone who doesn't play by the rules because the rules were designed to protect monsters. You want immunity. I want those children to be the last ones. Ever." Sean's cuffed hands clenched. "I don't care what happens to me, but if you cut a deal with me now, public, visible, undeniable, you tie your investigation to the one person who can't be quietly eliminated. The press is already calling me a hero. That's currency. Use it." Coleman studied him for a long moment. "You'd really risk your empire? Your freedom? For kids you don't even know?" "I already did." She made a decision. Coleman reached back and unlocked his cuffs. "Protective custody. You're a material witness in an ongoing federal investigation. You'll cooperate fully, surrender all evidence, and testify at every trial." She held out her hand. "Deal?" Sean shook it. "Deal." His phone buzzed Torres, texting from a secure line. "Olivia safe. Asking for you." Relief flooded through him. So intense it was almost painful. Across the street, news crews were setting up for live broadcasts. Sean recognized the CNN logo, the BBC correspondent, a dozen local stations. "Agent Coleman," he said, "before we go, I need to make a statement. I don't think that's—" "Not asking permission." Sean walked toward the cameras, and like sharks sensing blood, they swarmed him. Microphones thrust forward, questions shouted over each other. He raised one hand, and somehow, they quieted. "My name is Sean Hooker. I'm the head of what you'd call a criminal organization. I've broken laws, hurt people, done things I'm not proud of." His voice carried across the street. "But 5 nights ago, I found a little girl in an alley. She was beaten, terrified, running from people who should have protected her. And when I looked into why, when I started pulling threads, I found something that made my crimes look like parking violations." He gestured to the Foundation building. "This organization, these people, they've been trafficking children for years, stealing them, selling them, destroying them. They hid behind charity and respectability while committing atrocities." His eyes blazed. "So I'm making a promise right now, on camera, to every person watching. I'm done building an empire. From this moment forward, every resource I have, every connection, every bit of power I've accumulated, all of it goes to one purpose: protecting children." A reporter shouted. Are you saying you're becoming some kind of vigilante? I'm saying I'm becoming someone who can't be bought or intimidated or made to look away. Sean's voice dropped to something dangerous. And to anyone out there still involved in this trade, still hurting children, still thinking they're untouchable, I'm coming for you. Not as a criminal. As something worse. A criminal with nothing left to lose. The cameras ate it up. Coleman pulled him away as questions erupted. That was either brilliant or the stupidest thing you've ever done. Probably both. His phone buzzed again. This time, a photo from Reeves. Olivia curled up asleep in a safe house, clutching the jacket Sean had wrapped her in that first night. Underneath, she won't sleep unless she can see the door. Waiting for you. Sean's throat tightened. Agent Coleman, we done here? For now. We'll need formal statements tomorrow. Then I have somewhere to be. The safe house was modest, a brownstone in Queens that didn't look like anything special. But inside, it was a fortress. With Reeves and 4 other men maintaining watch rotations, Sean arrived near midnight, exhausted down to his bones. Reeves met him at the door. She's upstairs. Hasn't really talked to anyone. Dr. Martins checked her over. Physically, she's okay. Emotionally, Reeves shook his head. Kid's been through hell, boss. Sean climbed the stairs slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. What did he even say to her? He'd promised to protect her, and he had, but at what cost? She'd watched armed raids, heard gunfire, been dragged through tunnels while men with guns hunted her. The bedroom door was cracked open. Soft light spilled out. He knocked gently. Olivia, it's Sean. Can I come in? Silence. Then, so quiet he almost missed it. Okay. She sat on the bed, knees pulled to chest, wrapped in his leather jacket despite the warm room. Her eyes were enormous in her small face, ringed with exhaustion. Sean entered and sat carefully in the chair near the bed, not too close, giving her space. Hey, sweetheart, did you kill him? Her voice was flat, emotionless. Your brother, the Raven Man. No, he's alive, in custody. He'll go to prison for a very long time. Good. Something flickered in her eyes. Satisfaction, maybe, or just exhaustion. The other kids, the ones in the warehouse, are they safe? Yes, all of them. They're with real child services now, getting medical care, being reunited with families where possible. Olivia nodded, but her expression didn't change. Sean leaned forward slightly. Olivia, I need to talk to you about what happens next. Her whole body tensed. Child services is going to want to place you somewhere. Probably a foster home while they search for any relatives. They'll try to find you a family. No, the word was sharp. Final. Olivia, I don't want another family. I don't want strangers. Her voice cracked. I want to stay with you. Sean's heart clenched. Sweetheart, I'm not set up for this. I don't know how to be what you need. You already are. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You found me. You kept me safe. You stopped the bad people. You're the only one who... She couldn't finish, dissolving into sobs. Sean moved without thinking, crossing to the bed and pulling her into his arms. She clung to him desperately, her small body shaking with the force of her crying. Please don't send me away, she begged. Please, Sean, please. I won't. Hey, I won't. He held her tighter, his own eyes burning. I promise, I won't send you away. Really? Really. They stayed like that for a long time. Olivia crying herself empty while Sean held her and wondered how the hell he was going to make this work. Eventually, her sobs quieted to hiccups. She pulled back slightly, wiping her face with his jacket sleeve. Will they let you keep me? The police? I don't know, Sean admitted. It's complicated. I'm not exactly Father of the Year material on paper. But you saved me. Yeah. But I'm also a criminal. Courts don't usually award custody to people like me. Olivia's face set with determination. Then I'll tell them I choose you. It might not be that simple. I don't care. You're mine and I'm yours. She said it with such fierce certainty that Sean almost believed it could be true. A knock interrupted them. Reeves stuck his head in. Boss, there's someone here. Says she's from Child Services. Has a court order for temporary custody pending investigation. Sean's jaw clenched. Tell her to wait. But Olivia had heard. Panic flooded her face. No, they can't take me. Olivia. She scrambled off the bed and positioned herself behind Sean, gripping his shirt. I won't go. They'll have to drag me. Nobody's dragging anybody. Sean stood, keeping her behind him. Let me talk to them. Downstairs, a severe-looking woman in a gray suit waited in the living room. flanked by 2 police officers. She held a clipboard like a weapon. "Mr. Hooker, I'm Patricia Simmons from Child Protective Services. I have a court order to take Olivia Ennis into state custody immediately." "On what grounds?" "On the grounds that you are an unsuitable guardian. You're under investigation for multiple felonies. You operate a criminal organization, and you have no legal right to this child. I'm also the reason she's alive." Simmons's expression didn't soften. "That doesn't change the law. Olivia needs to be in a proper foster placement with vetted caregivers. Like the Ennis Foundation?" Sean's voice was ice. "How'd that work out?" "That was an aberration. That was systemic failure. And you want me to trust the same system that let it happen? This isn't a debate, Mr. Hooker." Simmons gestured to the officers. "Please produce the child." "No." Olivia's voice rang out from the staircase. She descended slowly, Sean's jacket dragging behind her, her small face set with adult resolve. "I'm not going with you." Simmons softened slightly. "Sweetheart, I know you're scared, but I'm not scared of you. I'm scared of going back into a system that sold me." Olivia moved to stand beside Sean, taking his hand. "Sean protected me. He saved me. He's the only person who kept his promises. And I choose him." "You're 8 years old. You don't get to choose." "Actually," a new voice interrupted from the doorway. "She does." Agent Coleman entered, holding a legal document. "Emergency guardianship order, signed 30 minutes ago by Federal Judge Maria Santos. Olivia Ennis is to remain in Sean Hooker's custody pending full investigation, with the stipulation that he cooperates fully with federal authorities and undergoes background checks and home evaluations." Simmons looked stunned. "On what grounds?" "On the grounds that Olivia is the key witness in the largest child trafficking case in U.S. history, and her safety is paramount. She trusts Mr. Hooker. Removing her from his care at this time would be traumatic and potentially compromise her testimony." Coleman handed the document to Simmons. "You're welcome to appeal, but until then, she stays." Simmons scanned the document, her face reddening. "This is highly irregular. So is finding 23 kids in cages." Coleman's voice was steel. "We're done here." Simmons left, radiating disapproval, the officers trailing behind her. When the door closed, Olivia looked up at Sean with wondering eyes. "Does this mean—" "Yeah, sweetheart." Sean's voice was rough. "It means you're staying." She threw her arms around him, and for the first time since he'd found her in that alley, she smiled. A real smile. 6 months later, Sean stood in the kitchen of a renovated building in Brooklyn, pouring orange juice into plastic cups. Behind him, children's laughter echoed through halls that had once been warehouse space. The same warehouse where he'd found 23 kids in cages. Now it was something else. Something better. A sanctuary. "Sean! Tommy took my toy again." A 6-year-old named Maria appeared in the doorway, indignant. "Did he ask first?" "No." "Then Tommy needs to learn about asking permission." "Where is he?" "Playroom." Sean found Tommy, one of the children rescued that night, clutching a stuffed elephant. The boy looked guilty before Sean even spoke. "What's the rule, Tommy?" "Ask before taking," the boy mumbled. "Right. So what do you need to do?" "Give it back and say sorry." "Good man, go on." Tommy trudged off to make amends. Sean watched him go, feeling that now familiar tightness in his chest, pride mixed with protectiveness mixed with fear that he'd somehow screw this up. "You're getting soft, boss." Reeves appeared beside him, carrying a tablet. But even Reeves had changed. He wore jeans instead of tactical gear, and his expression had lost some of its edge. "Status report?" Sean asked. 3 more kids placed with vetted families this week. That makes 42 total since we opened. We've got 8 currently in residence, all thriving according to Dr. Martins, and we just got approved for that expansion in Chicago. Sean nodded. The Hooker Syndicate still existed, technically, but it had transformed into something unrecognizable. Every illicit dollar now funneled into this network of safe houses, legal aid for trafficking victims, and private security for children at risk. His former soldiers had become bodyguards for the vulnerable. His money launderers now tracked offshore accounts used by predators. His network of informants watched for signs of abuse. He'd traded an empire of fear for something infinitely more valuable. "How's the trial prep going?" Reeves asked. "Exhausting. I testify again next week." Sean had spent months in courtrooms, watching the Ennis Foundation's network crumble. Senator Whitmore had flipped, providing evidence against bigger fish. Judge Brennan hanged himself in his cell. Richard Ennis was serving life without parole. And Daniel was still awaiting trial. but the evidence was overwhelming. Sean had visited him once in prison. They'd sat across bulletproof glass, saying nothing, until finally Daniel spoke. "I'm sorry, for what it's worth. It's not worth much, but I hear it. That kid, Olivia, she's really staying with you? Yeah. You'll be better at this than I ever was. Than we ever were." Daniel's expression was hollow. Maybe that's the point. Maybe one hooker needed to burn so the other could build something clean. Sean had left without responding. Some bridges couldn't be rebuilt. "Sean," Olivia's voice called from upstairs. "Can you help me with my homework? Be right there." He turned to Reeves. "We good?" "We're good, boss. Go be a dad." The word still felt strange. Foreign, but less so every day. Sean climbed the stairs to Olivia's room, the permanent room in his permanent apartment, decorated with drawings she'd made. Happy drawings now. Families and sunshine and houses with gardens. She sat at her desk, algebra book open, pencil tapping impatiently. "This one doesn't make sense," she complained. Sean leaned over her shoulder, studying the problem. "Okay, let's break it down. What are we solving for?" They worked through it together, Olivia's frustration gradually giving way to understanding. When she finally got the answer, she beamed. "I did it." "You did. Proud of you, sweetheart." She turned in her chair, suddenly serious. "Sean, can I ask you something?" "Always. Are you happy? Like, really happy? Or do you miss the old stuff, the exciting, dangerous stuff?" Sean crouched so they were eye level. "You want the truth?" "Always. Sometimes I miss the simplicity, knowing who the enemies were, having clear rules. This," he gestured around, "this is harder, scarier even, because I could lose you, because I could fail these kids, because I'm making it up as I go. But," she knew him well enough now to hear the unspoken word, "but I've never felt this before. This, peace. Like I'm finally doing what I was supposed to be doing all along." He touched her cheek gently. "You saved me, Olivia. That night in the rain. I thought I was rescuing you, but you were rescuing me." Her eyes filled with tears. "I love you, Sean." The words hit him like a freight train. She'd never said it before, though he'd felt it growing between them, this bond that transcended biology and legal documents. "I love you too, sweetheart. More than I knew I could love anything." She hugged him fiercely, and Sean held her, this child who'd changed everything, thinking about all the other Olivias out there, the ones still suffering, still waiting to be found. His phone buzzed. A text from Agent Coleman. "Got a lead on a trafficking ring in Boston. Could use your insight." Sean looked down at Olivia, still holding him tight, then back at his phone. The work was never done. The monsters were still out there, but so was he, and now he had something worth fighting for. "Hey, Olivia, how would you feel about visiting Boston next month? There's a new facility I'm thinking of opening there." She pulled back, studying his face. She was smart enough to know what that meant. "You're going to help more kids, if I can. If you're okay with it." "Of course I'm okay with it." She smiled, that brilliant smile that still undid him every time. "That's what we do now. We help people." "Yeah," Sean said softly, pulling her close again. "That's what we do." Outside the window, the Brooklyn sun set over a city that still held too many shadows. But in this room, in this moment, there was only light, the light of a child safe and loved, and a man who'd found redemption in the most unexpected place, in a rain-soaked alley, in a terrified whisper, in a little girl who'd needed saving and had ended up saving him instead. Thanks for sticking with this story till the end. If you enjoyed it, you're going to love the next one. It's packed with unexpected turns and heartfelt moments. Click the image on your screen to keep the journey going, and make sure to hit subscribe for more amazing stories. Drop a comment and rate this story from 1 to 10. I can't wait to see what you think.
Если есть, которые друзья поддержат тебя в какой-то момент, хотя бы просто отвлекут тебя от этих мыслей. А если у тебя, к примеру, там семья, жена, к примеру, да, есть дети, то тут, наверное, поддержка только от них исходит какая-то. Вот. Чтобы не упиваться в своих мыслях о том, что какая нынче сложная жизнь. И, наверное, других-то вариантов, в принципе-то, и нету. Какие вот еще варианты, в принципе, изменить, поменять свою жизнь настолько, чтобы она была, казалась тебе удачной, да? себя в жизни, в чем-то. В чем, вот как проявляется на самом деле у нас реализованность? Наверное, у 90% случаев это финансовое благополучие, финансовая независимость. Это, наверное, одно из таких ключевых моментов, когда человек, наверное, считает себя реализованным, да, в этой жизни. То есть, как добиться этого? То есть, с учетом того, что даже возьмем нашу страну, да, сколько миллионов людей здесь живет, как каждому добиться этого результата? Непонятно. И с каждым годом просто ситуация становится все хуже и хуже. Все дорожает, люди зарабатывают либо столько же. Ну, даже если они зарабатывают столько же, на самом деле этого все уже недостаточно. К чему это все приведет на самом деле? В оконцове, наверное, мир погрязнет в большую депрессию в какую-то. Какие-то войны, возможно, или еще что-то еще больше глобальных таких вещей, которые не приведут ни к чему хорошему на самом деле. Поддержка каждого человека именно для того, чтобы он держался, наверное, морально, заключается в том, что, ну, наверное, дом, в который ты приходишь, должен быть крепостью твоей, да, что это единственное должно быть место, где ты будешь чувствовать себя под защитой. Для этого было придумано, наверное, своя пещера изначально, потом свои какие-то чумы, палатки различные, да, потом все это превратилось, на данный момент это у нас дома, квартиры, в которые мы приходим и должны ощущать себя в безопасности, чтобы можно быть немного морально расслабленным с учетом того, что ты выходишь каждый день на работу, на улицу, и все равно давление вот это вот, оно все присутствует. Когда ты заходишь в магазин, видишь цены эти, да, и так далее, не можешь себе что-то там приобрести, позволить на ежедневной основе, это откладывает большой, наверное, отпечаток. Не, наверное, а точно. И поэтому, когда возвращаясь домой, ты чувствуешь, вот хотя бы есть типа уголок того места, куда ты можешь прийти. Уголок на самом деле человеку много тоже не надо. Можно хотеть большего, но на самом деле человеку одному много не надо. Да? Ему нужно спальное место, спокойное место, где можно подумать. Ну, это когда ты один, к примеру, да? Когда у тебя есть семья, к примеру, ты приходишь домой, опять-таки, и тут хотя бы, да, поговорить о каких-то вещах. Просто об отрешенных вещах, наверное. И, возможно, при этих же условиях у тебя и появляется какая-то дополнительная мотивация для реализации себя. А когда у тебя нету ничего, вот это уже становится проблемой. И это у многих на самом деле. Что значит не иметь ничего? Тут, наверное, самое главное, дизмораль у человека еще возникает при том, что это уже, наверное, где-то в глубине души даже она возникает при даже хорошей финансовой подушке такой, которая у тебя есть, хороших финансовых деньгах, да, то есть, но нету вот внутреннего ощущения, к примеру, дружбы, семьи, любви и так далее. Это уже отдельно на самом деле разговор, потому что мы, вот, к примеру, можем взять, как сейчас вот Новстрой, если кто-то смотрит, насколько тяжело обладать такими финансами и не иметь по сути ничего. Ни друзей, ничего не иметь. Так главное это получается для бедных главное деньги, для богатых главное какое-то внутреннее ощущение нужности, не из-за денег. Вот такой вот. И эта борьба какая-то такая и вот эти два слоя общества, богатые и бедные, они друг друга не понимают. На самом деле из-за этого, возможно. Потому что богатый человек, он уже не смотрит на деньги, он не считает эти деньги. Ему важно внутреннее вот это вот ощущение того, что он нужен без них даже. Это как Тони Старку сказали: а кто ты без костюма? На вот это я филантроп, тудым-сюдым, он сказал, да? Так и человеку, у которого много денег, ты задашь вопрос: а кто ты без денег? Ну, что ты представляешь себе без денег? Вот и это, наверное, возможно, таких людей богатых, как вот, например, там, Молстрой, задав ему этот вопрос: а кто ты без денег? Он на него ответить-то и не сможет. Обратная сторона людей бедных, да, вот если мы посмотрим, человеку